My name is Sarah Robinson, and I have a confession that I have to start out with, which is that last Thursday, I threw out the presentation that I wrote for this event. It's okay, it was a good presentation, and you probably would have liked it. But as I was reading over it, getting ready for today, I realized two things about it. Number one, I can't believe I'm about to tell you this. I was trying really hard to impress you. I was actually trying to out-cool the cool kids, like the new girl at school, because I didn't know any of you. Yeah, I realized that. And number two, I was really struggling to find the right story to illustrate the thing that I so deeply believe. And that is that community will save us all. The birthplace for loyalty, for fierce, deep loyalty, is in community. And so that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. And as I thought about what I really wanted to say to you, and what story I wanted to tell, I realized that I was living with the perfect story, the best story. It's a story that inspires me, and it's a story that I believe will inspire you. So with your permission, and I hope you'll let me use notes since I did just write this on Thursday, I would like to share that story with you. We adopted our younger son, Nicholas, 3 years ago. I would like to take all the glory for that fabulous decision, but I can't. All of that belongs to my older son, Thomas. When he was 5 years old, we were watching an episode of Arthur on PBS. You guys are familiar with Arthur? Okay, so we were watching an episode of Arthur, and one of Arthur's friends goes to China with his family to adopt a little girl. They compressed the entire international adoption experience into 30 minutes. Let me tell you, it takes a little longer than that. But when the episode was over, Thomas turns to me and says, "Hey, Mom, can you get me a little brother like that?" "No girls, Mom, just a little brother." I had to recover, choked on my teeth, and said, "Sure, honey, we'll talk to your father about that when he gets home tonight." I was totally stalling. Now, my husband David and I had actually talked about adoption, but never seriously pursued it. And because he was 5, and because he was a boy, and because he had the attention span of a gnat, I was counting on him forgetting about this whole thing before dinner ever happened. Just like he forgot about the "I have to have it or I'm going to die" Hot Wheel of the day. He didn't forget about it. He didn't forget about it for 3 years. "When are you going to get my little brother? Is it time for me to stay with Gran so you can go get my little brother? Hey, isn't it about time you went and got my little brother?" He didn't let up. For 3 years, he didn't stop until his little brother was on the ground 3 years later. Now, lest you think he's a saint, 2 days into the reality of having a little brother, he came to us and said, "I've made a terrible mistake. Can you send him back?" This isn't the point of my story. This is background, so you understand what I'm about to tell you. As much as my older son was annoyed by his little brother, he listened intently when we talked about our experiences at the Russian orphanage. And apparently, he really tuned in when we talked about the little bitties having to go outside on a hot July day in their winter boots because those were the only shoes they had. And he said, "They really need summer shoes, Mom." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, honey. I don't know how to make that happen." And again, I thought, subject closed, you know? He's 8, he's moving on to whatever it is 8-year-old little boys think about. So imagine my surprise when 2 years later, he sits me down and says, "I'm ready to do something about the shoes, Mom." "What shoes?" "The shoes for Nicholas's orphanage." Oh, those shoes, right, okay. So in one of my former lives, I worked in the nonprofit sector, and so the part of my brain that knows how to raise money and procure resources and start deploying, that's what kicked in. What's the fastest way to get these shoes and get them where they need to go? Thomas, I know of a company, they're in the business of getting shoes to children who need them all over the world. Why don't we contact them about your idea? Great, Mom, I'm gonna shoot a video. So you just, fire up the camera. He talked directly to the CEO of the company that I'm not going to name and told him all about his idea for his project and asked them to help. And we sent it off. The next day, Mom, have we heard from them? No, honey, they're really busy. A week goes by. Mom, have they responded yet? No, honey. A month goes by. Mom, why haven't they responded yet? I have no idea. But I'll tell you what, we are not going to sit here and wait on them to make this project happen. So we piled in the car and we went shoe shopping because we needed to price the shoes that we wanted to get. Then we had to figure out how we were going to ship them where they needed to go. That was a bit of a downer. There's only one way to get an item to that part of Russia, and that is U.S. Postal Service International overnight. The most expensive way to ship anything on the planet. So that was great news. So my bargain shopping kicked in and I did some work on exactly how much these shoes were going to cost. And then we did some math and then we figured out that for $8, we could send a pair of shoes from where we were to Russia. So I say, okay, Thomas, now we know how much this is going to cost. How are we going to tell people about it so they can help you? I roll. Mom, we're going to build a website. Duh. I mean, kids, they come out of the chute tech savvy, don't they? I mean, they know how all of this stuff works. So that's what we did. Using a very simple theme on Blogspot, we built a site. And I said, so Thomas, do you want to write about the project and tell people about it that way, or do you want to shoot a video? Well, by this point, you can guess what you picked, right? It's shoot a video. So we did that, talked all about the project, why we wanted to do it, asked people to help. And we set a goal. We were going to raise $400 so we could send 50 pairs of shoes to this orphanage. And our timeline was that we would raise this money, buy the shoes, and get them shipped in 4 to 6 weeks. Reasonable? So I loaded everything up onto the site, I got a PayPal link, I did all that, and I hit publish. Thomas raised $400 in less than 24 hours. Now, being Thomas, he said, I'm just going to double it. I'm going to raise $800. Then I can send them some summer clothes too. Now, I was astonished that he was able to do this. And when people hear me say that, they're like, oh, you raised that in such a short time because you know so many people on social media. Only like 4 or 5 of my friends actually bought shoes. The rest of the money came from people I'd never met, I'd never heard of, and I had no idea how they heard about this project. And they didn't just come and give money and leave. They came, they checked back, they watched his videos of going shoe shopping, they watched his videos of going to the post office and talking to the lady behind the counter. They encouraged him, and they talked to each other about why they liked supporting him and supporting his project. They were all in, and I couldn't figure it out. So I backed up a little, and I actually looked at it through my author's lens because I was finishing up my book, Fierce Loyalty. And when I looked at it that way, it all made perfect sense. Many of us, most of us, long to be a part of a community. We want to feel that deep sense of purpose and connection that is only available in a community. We want to feel like we belong to something bigger than ourselves. We want to be seen and we want to be heard. We want to be recognized by other people. And we want to feel safe. We want to be in a group of people that are like, they have the same interests, they're like us. We want to feel safe. And those things are available in a community. Now, what I learned by watching this particular community was that we need that. And we need it on a small level and we need it on a large level. And I also learned it when I was doing my research for my book. I actually looked at the happiness research that's out there. I'm fascinated by that happiness research. And I really wanted to find out if there was a connection between happiness and community and loyalty. And there is. The things that determine whether or not we feel happy, more than money, more than the pursuit of pleasure, are meaningful connection and meaningful engagement. We have to have it. My friend Brene Brown takes it a step further. According to her research, without meaningful connection and engagement in our lives, we are far more likely to develop anxiety, depression, and addiction. We are hardwired to have community as a part of our existence. Our caveman ancestors knew they wouldn't make it a day without their community. One single caveman out there against a saber-toothed tiger did not stand a chance. A community of cavemen and women could not only protect themselves, they could pool their resources, they could divide their labor, they could solve their problems. Now, the face of the saber-toothed tiger has absolutely changed, but we still live under the intense pressure and intense stress of our caveman ancestors. And we still need a community to survive and thrive. We must have a place where we belong to something bigger than ourselves. We must have a place where we're seen and heard and recognized. We were not built to live in isolation. Our deepest sense of security, of physical and emotional security, comes from being in a group of people who are like-minded. Now, we've spent decades trying to live without this essential part of who we are. And we haven't become happy, independent individuals. What we've created is a disconnected culture that makes us miserable, makes us fat, makes us in debt, makes us depressed, anxious, and addicted. And it does not equip us to solve our challenges and to face our opportunities. Knowing this, is it any wonder that a planned community that came out of nowhere, Seaside, Florida, resonated so deeply with a society that was just desperate for connection? Is it any wonder that Harley-Davidson riders band together in groups where they don't have to explain the passion they have for their motorcycle? And doesn't it make sense that the relationships we build in online communities become integral parts of our day-to-day lives? We are starved for connection. Now, we intrinsically know that in a community, we are more than just a group of individuals. We have a collective strength and a collective resilience and a collective courage in a community that's simply not available to us as an individual. And to survive in that very tough world out there, we need all of that we can get. But I believe that this is about more than mere survival. I believe that in communities, we are our very best selves. Because in a community, we get to experience and we get to express joy, creativity, authenticity, love, belonging, compassion, courage, vulnerability, risk, gratitude, happiness, relationship, worthiness, and most important, we get to understand the power of connection. This is what my son's project created. A place where he and others could come and experience the things that I just listed, even if it was just in a small way, and for a short period of time. Seen through this lens, it's no wonder this community became so fiercely loyal, seeing not only this project through, but subsequent orphanage projects through with him, with a determination, with a commitment, with an obstinance and an enthusiasm that was completely mind-blowing. Now, how does all of this impact you? I believe it impacts you in 3 ways. I want you to look around. No, I mean it. Look around. This is your community. The things you are up to in the world can be really, really challenging. Sometimes they can even be downright frightening. Lean into the collective strength and the collective resilience that is only available to you in a community like LOHAS. Number 2, create a community for your internal team. If you create for the people who work with you and for you a culture that includes all of the things that I've just talked about. By the way, this is a culture you must have if you want to lead your company, if you want to lead your industry, and if you want to lead the world. If you create this culture for your internal team, they will do more, they will give more, and they will create more than you can possibly imagine. And finally, create a community for your customers and your clients and make it just amazing. Because here's what you need to know. They're already out there looking. They're out there looking for a place where they can belong, where they can be recognized, where people will see them and hear them, and where they feel safe. If you are the one who creates that community for them, you become the source of connection and you become the source of happiness. And they will never leave you, ever. And just think about it. What if everyone in this room was committed to fostering a community, or to starting a community, or even just to being a part of a community? Imagine what kind of world we could create. Just think about that. Community will save us all. The only question is, are you going to be a part of it? That's all I have to say.